Okay, so now you've been having a thought about, where you're going to position yourself in terms of your attitude before you go into labour, your attitude towards pain in labour. There's a few other bits of information to put into this map that is part of the predictions. And that is, first of all, who are you having with you in the birth? Inside here, what I'm calling the intimate holding circle or the support circle, the people that you know who you're choosing to be with you at the birth. So you might think about who those people are and what their influence will be in terms of what happens when you're reaching into this, being drawn into this crisis of confidence because of the intensity of the labour. So that's one part of the map that starts to have a bearing on what's going to happen. But another part is the midwife. The midwife, who is really the person in the labour who's going to be spending those hours with you. Yeah, and there's some midwifery research that talks about, that really does looking at midwives and what their attitudes towards pain in labour are. In the same way that I'm predicting here, or talking about them, what the mother's attitude towards pain in labour is, there's this research about what midwives' attitudes towards pain in labour is. So, and depending on who it is that you're working with, particularly if you're working in the hospital system, the birth system, and you're working with what I call stranger midwives. So that is a midwife who you don't know who she is. You only meet her, at the time when she's on shift, when you're in the hospital in labour. So a stranger midwife. So you're not going to know really what her attitude towards pain in labour is until you're right there in the process of it. There are also others, smaller number, really only 8% of women who labour can access what we call continuity of care midwives. So these are midwives who you're working with across the pregnancy, through the birth and into the postnatal arena. So they would be midwives who you might be placing inside this circle because you have a relationship with them, you know them, and you will have had a chance during the pregnancy to really talk through all of these issues about what's going to be happening about the pain. But if you're dealing with the midwife who is a stranger to you, you're only going to meet her when you're in labour, you don't know which of these two attitudes that the midwifery research is talking about, which of these two attitudes she has, but I'm sure you'll see when I put it on this map that I'm making here, how influential the midwife's attitude towards pain in labour is going to be in terms of what happens for you when you're in this crisis of confidence and you're feeling like you can't do it anymore. So the two midwifery attitudes from the research that was done are that there are midwives who have what we might call is a more traditionally a nurse's attitude about pain, or actually what is a sort of a more medical take on pain of any sort in a hospital context, whether it's about the healthy pain of a labour or it's about pain, pathological pain coming out of damage, disease or accident or what have you. But really it's a pain relief model. Pain relief. And, they're experts in how much, which drugs, how often, so on, so on. It's that pain relief model. It's really the default system, the default attitude of midwives and the default system in the hospital birthing scene. But there are other midwives. Really, they're midwives who would consider themselves to be guardians of normal birth. And remember, you're a willing woman, you want to get here, so that normal physiological childbirth. So these midwives see themselves as being guardians of normal birth. And so they have a different attitude towards pain in labour because they know really coming through and working with that pain in labour is so important for tracking that pathway to the birth staying in that normal functional physiological realm. So these are the midwives who have a working with pain philosophy and practices and set of skills. A bit like your personal trainer, who knows, okay, yeah, it's a bit of a tough time, like crisis of confidence, you don't want to do any more star jumps, but they can encourage you and keep you going through to achieve what it is that you're wanting to achieve. So these are the midwives for the willing woman. These are the midwives that you're wanting to be working with in the labour. Okay, so I've got most of the key elements of this, what I'm calling pain dynamics, here on this map. And if you want to know a bit more about how that map unfolds and what the predictions are about where your birth journey might end, come along and hear me speak at the BellyBelly immersion workshop, and I'd love to speak to you about it all then. Okay, thanks.